Commander Elias Morgan's breath crystallized in the frigid air as he dragged himself through knee-deep snow, each labored step leaving a crimson trail behind him. The emergency exosuit that had automatically deployed during the crash was already failing, its heating elements flickering as erratically as his consciousness. "Mayday, mayday," he wheezed into his comm unit, knowing full well it was useless. The violent ion storm that had sent his research vessel spiraling into Caraxes IV's icy surface had also fried most of his equipment. Damn Interstellar Science Division, he thought bitterly. They said this system was stable. A particularly vicious gust of wind knocked him to his knees. Pain lanced through his side where a piece of the ship's console had impaled him during impact. He'd managed to remove the shard and seal the wound, but internal bleeding was almost certain. The blizzard intensified, reducing visibility to mere inches. Towering ice formations loomed like ghostly sentinels all around him, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the planet's distant, dying sun in prismatic hues that might have been beautiful under other circumstances. "Not going to die here," Elias muttered, forcing himself back to his feet, but his body disagreed. The exosuit's temperature warning flashed across his visor, critical thermal failure. The suit was designed to withstand the vacuum of space, yet the unholy cold of Caraxes IV was proving too much. Or perhaps it was the damage from the crash. Either way, Elias knew the math. Without shelter, he had maybe 20 minutes before hypothermia claimed him. He stumbled forward, no longer certain which direction might lead to salvation. Through the howling wind, he thought he heard something else, a low, rumbling sound, almost like a growl. Hallucinations already, he thought. That was quick. His legs finally gave out. As he collapsed into the snow, his scientist's mind calmly catalogued his symptoms: sluggish thoughts, failing coordination, the dangerous warmth now spreading through his extremities. The cold's final, cruel trick, making death feel like comfort. "I'm sorry, Maya," he whispered, thinking of his sister back on Earth, the only family he had left. They'd promised to see the rings of Saturn together next year. The growl came again, closer now, and Elias forced his eyes open. Through the swirling white, he saw a shape approaching, tall, powerful, moving with impossible grace through the blizzard. Not human. Definitely not human. Golden eyes glowed in the dim light, fixed on him with predatory focus. The figure stalked closer, revealing a silhouette both humanoid and bestial, a woman's form but with pointed ears atop her head and a thick mane of silver-white fur framing her face. Her body was covered in a mixture of sleek pelts and what looked like organically grown armor, clinging to powerful muscles. So this is how it ends, Elias thought. Not by freezing, but as some alien predator's dinner. She crouched beside him, nostrils flaring as she assessed his scent. Her lips pulled back to reveal sharp canines, and she made a sound, not quite a growl, not quite speech. Elias tried to reach his sidearm, but his fingers wouldn't respond. The cold had taken too much. To his surprise, the creature didn't attack. Instead, she leaned closer, her breath warm against his frozen skin. She spoke, her voice deep and melodic, in a language his translator couldn't process. Then, with surprising gentleness, she lifted him as if he weighed nothing, cradling him against a body that radiated heat. The last thing Elias registered before losing consciousness was the steady rhythm of her heartbeat against his ear, and her scent, wild and earthy, like pine and smoke and something indefinably alien. His final delirious thought, beautiful. The blizzard swallowed them both as she carried him into the white void. Warmth, that was Elias' first conscious sensation. Unexpected, impossible warmth. His eyes flickered open to a soft amber glow. He lay on a bed of furs in what appeared to be a cave, its walls gleaming with bioluminescent fungi that pulsed in hypnotic patterns. Steam rose from several small pools scattered throughout the chamber, explaining the pleasant temperature, natural hot springs, somehow connected to geothermal activity beneath the ice. When he tried to move, pain lanced through his side. Looking down, he discovered his exosuit had been carefully removed, and his wound dressed with some kind of fibrous green paste that smelled of herbs and minerals. His voice was a rasp, his throat felt like sandpaper. Movement caught his eye. The creature from the blizzard emerged from the shadows, approaching with the silent grace of a predator. Up close, he could see her features more clearly: high cheekbones, an elegantly pointed jaw, those remarkable golden eyes that seemed to capture light like gemstones. Her silver-white hair fell in intricate braids interwoven with small bones and metallic beads. The pointed ears atop her head twitched slightly as she studied him. In her arms, she carried a carved wooden bowl. She crouched beside him and offered it, making a motion toward his mouth. Inside was a steaming liquid, reddish-brown with an unfamiliar but not unpleasant aroma. Elias hesitated, his scientist's caution warring with desperate thirst. The wolfwoman made an impatient sound and took a small sip herself, demonstrating it wasn't poison. Then she offered it again. Thank you, he managed, accepting the bowl with trembling hands. The broth was rich and gamey, warming him from the inside as he drank. While he ate, she watched him with unnerving intensity. Her nostrils occasionally flared, as if cataloging his scent. When he finished, she took the bowl and disappeared into another chamber of the cave, returning moments later with something clutched in her hand. She knelt beside him and uncurled her fingers, revealing his translator device, damaged in the crash. With surprising dexterity, she had attempted to repair it, using what looked like thin bone needles and strands of conductive metal unknown to him. You fixed this, he asked, amazed. She placed the device near his throat and made a gesture. Reluctantly, Elias activated it. Static crackled, but the device functioned. Can understand. Now. Her voice came through in halting fragments, deep and melodious despite the electronic distortion. Yes, Elias replied, astonished. Yes, I can understand you. Who are you? Where am I? I am Vila, she touched her chest. Hunter Shaman Lunari clan, she gestured around them. Sacred caves, my private place, others not come here. You saved my life, Elias said. Why? Vila tilted her head, considering him with those penetrating golden eyes. Your heart song, strange, different, but strong. She placed a hand over his chest. Her palm was warm, her fingers tipped with short, retractable claws. Then becoming quiet in snow, wrong to let strong heart die. Elias covered her hand with his own. Thank you, Vila. She stiffened at the contact but didn't pull away. After a moment she spoke again, her voice softer. Outsiders forbidden, clan law, but I am shaman, walk between laws. Am I in danger from your clans? Vila rose to her full height, nearly 7 feet tall, powerful and lithe. I protect what is mine, she said simply. Then with unexpected gentleness she tugged the furs higher around his shoulders. Rest, heal, later you tell Vila of Sky People. As she moved away to tend the fire, Elias found himself watching the graceful power of her movements. There was something mesmerizing in the fluid way she carried herself, both primal and elegant. Against all odds, in this alien cave on this deadly world, he felt safe. Just before sleep reclaimed him, he saw her silhouette against the fire. Her ears perked attentively as she listened to the storm raging outside. A guardian between him and death. His last thought before drifting off was that there was more to survival than mere heartbeats. There was connection, even across the stars. Days passed as Elias regained his strength under Vila's care. The wound in his side healed with remarkable speed thanks to her herbal treatments. When he was finally strong enough to stand without assistance, she presented him with clothing she had crafted, layers of supple, insulated hides and fur, far more suitable for Caraxes IV than his damaged exosuit. Today you learn to hunt, she announced one morning, tossing him a spear made from a polished bone shard attached to a sturdy shaft. Cannot stay in cave forever. Outside, the blizzard had subsided, revealing a landscape of breathtaking, brutal beauty. Crystal forests stretched across the horizon, trees of pure ice that chimed like bells in the light breeze. The twin moons of Caraxes hung low in the lavender sky, casting prismatic light across the snow. It's beautiful, Elias murmured. Beautiful things kill fastest here, Vila replied pragmatically. She demonstrated how to walk across the snow, distributing his weight to avoid sinking. Her movements were fluid, almost dance-like, leaving barely an impression on the surface. Elias' first attempts were clumsy by comparison. He stumbled repeatedly, sinking thigh-deep into drifts, much to Vila's evident amusement. Her laugh was surprisingly melodic, a rolling, purring sound that made something warm flicker in his chest. Skyman moves like wounded frostbear, she teased, but there was no malice in her voice. She positioned herself behind him, her body pressed against his back as she guided his movements. Feel rhythm of snow, listen to ice beneath. Elias was acutely aware of her warmth, the subtle scent of herbs and musk that clung to her fur. The translator couldn't capture the full musicality of her native language as she murmured instructions against his ear. By midday, he had improved enough that Vila led him deeper into the wilderness to a frozen lake where strange, multi-legged creatures swam beneath the transparent ice. She showed him how to fish using a resonating bone that attracted the creatures to the surface. As they worked together, conversation flowed more easily. The translator struggled with complex concepts, but they developed a shorthand of gestures and expressions to bridge the gaps. Your people, the Lunari, I thought the planet was uninhabited, Elias said as they sat by a small thermal vent cooking their catch. Vila's ears flattened slightly. We stay hidden, last clan now others, she made a sweeping gesture. Gone, long winters took them, or sky people before you. I'm sorry, Elias said, my people aren't perfect, we've made many mistakes. She studied him with those penetrating golden eyes. All people make mistakes, Lunari too. Survival is not always kind. She hesitated, then added, but kindness sometimes is survival. That evening, as they returned to the cave, Elias showed her the functioning parts of his equipment, the holographic images of Earth, the music stored in his personal files, the scientific readings his devices could capture. Vila was fascinated, especially by the music. She closed her eyes, ears twitching in time with the rhythm of a classical piece. Your heart song, she said suddenly, placing her palm against his chest. First night in snow, it spoke to mine. She guided his hand to her own chest, where he could feel the strong, slightly faster beating of her heart. Different rhythms, same song. The intimacy of the gesture caught Elias off guard. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, recognition, perhaps, of something transcending the vast differences of their species and worlds. That night, when the temperature dropped dangerously, they slept closer than before. Vila's body curled protectively around his, her higher body temperature keeping him warm. In the dim light of the bioluminescent fungi, with her rhythmic breathing against his neck, Elias felt a connection he hadn't anticipated. He was no longer merely surviving. He was learning to live in this new world, with this extraordinary being beside him. The warning came at dawn, a low, melodic howl that jolted Vila from sleep. Her ears swiveled sharply, her body tensing as she listened to what sounded to Elias like merely the wind. They come, she said grimly, rising with fluid grace. Clan hunters many. How did they find us? Elias asked, hurriedly pulling on his furs. Vila's expression darkened. Moon-crossing hunt, sacred time, all Lunari hunt together. She gripped his shoulders, golden eyes intense. Listen carefully, you are mine by right of rescue, but Chief Torval he follows old ways will challenge. Before Elias could question further, she pressed something into his palm, a carved bone pendant identical to the one she wore. Our bond token, wear this. Moments later, they emerged from the cave to find 8 tall figures surrounding the entrance, their fur ranging from silver to charcoal, all adorned with elaborate armor crafted from bone and ice metal. The largest among them stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal a scarred face with piercing silver eyes. Vila, he growled, the translator struggling with his deeper accent. You dishonor hunt with. His gaze raked over Elias with undisguised contempt, this weak thing. Chief Torval, Vila replied, subtly positioning herself between Elias and the clan leader. I claim protection rights, he is my bondmate. A ripple of shocked snarls moved through the assembled hunters. Torval's eyes narrowed to slits. Impossible, he spat. Sky people are prey or enemies, never bondmates, he gestured to Elias. This creature would die in one night without your help, weak blood taints clan. Elias stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Vila. With respect, Chief Torval, I've survived 16 days on Caraxus now. Your world has tried to kill me repeatedly, I'm still here. The translator conveyed his words, causing several hunters to exchange surprised glances. Survival commanded respect in Lunari culture, Vila had taught him that much. Torval studied him with newfound interest. You speak our tongue. I try, Elias replied, relying on the translator, but attempting some of the guttural inflections Vila had taught him. An older female hunter with elaborate facial markings stepped forward. The law is clear, Torval. If Vila claims bond right, only the sacred trial can decide. Torval bared his fangs in what might have been a smile. Yes, the trial, let the Skyman prove his worth or die trying. He turned to Elias. 3 challenges, hunt, endure, fight. Succeed and the clan acknowledges your bond with our shaman. Fail in any and both of you face exile. Exile means death, Vila whispered. Elias touched the bone pendant at his throat. I accept your challenges. The first test came immediately, tracking and killing one of the massive frost bears that roamed the ice plains. Using the hunting skills Vila had taught him, Elias managed to lure the creature into a narrow ravine where its size became a disadvantage. Though injured in the process, he made a clean kill that impressed even Torval. The second test was endurance, standing chest-deep in a frozen lake through one complete cycle of the smaller moon. Vila wasn't permitted to help, but her presence at the shore, her soft singing carrying across the ice, gave him strength through the excruciating hours. For the final challenge, Elias faced combat against Torval's son, a warrior nearly as large as the chief himself. What the Lunari fighter had in strength, Elias countered with speed and unconventional tactics learned from years of zero-gravity combat training. When he finally managed to disarm his opponent without killing him, a move that demonstrated both skill and honor, a respectful silence fell over the watching clan. Breathing heavily, body battered but unbroken, Elias turned to face Torval. I've completed your trials. The chief regarded him thoughtfully, then made a complex gesture toward Vila. The stars give strange gifts, he said finally. The clan acknowledges your bond. His silver eyes glinted. But we watch, Skyman, always. As the hunters departed to continue their sacred hunt, Vila embraced Ilias fiercely, her powerful arms nearly crushing him. Foolish, brave heart, she whispered against his hair. You risked everything. For you I would, he replied simply, realizing as he spoke that it was absolutely true. That night, as she tended his wounds from the trials, the air between them charged with unspoken emotion. Her touch lingered, gentle despite her strength. When their eyes met, there was no mistaking the hunger in her golden gaze, a hunger that had nothing to do with survival and everything to do with desire. My heart chose well, she murmured, tracing the line of his jaw with one clawed fingertip. Under the light of twin moons shining through the ice crystal ceiling of their cave, they surrendered to the connection that had been building between them, finding in each other's arms a warmth that defied the eternal winter outside. The weeks that followed transformed Ilias in ways he couldn't have imagined. His body grew leaner, stronger, adapted to the harsh conditions of Caraxes IV. The clan, while still wary, had begun to accept his presence. Some of the younger hunters even sought him out, curious about the worlds beyond their ice moon. Vila flourished as well. Her status as shaman had always set her apart from the others, but her bond with Ilias had given her new perspective. She incorporated elements of his scientific knowledge into her healing practices, creating treatments more effective than any in clan memory. Their nights together were a revelation, tender moments stolen in the privacy of their cave, where differences in biology mattered less than the connection they'd forged. Vila's fierce protectiveness balanced with surprising gentleness, her clawed hands capable of the softest caresses. In her arms, Ilias found a passion he'd never known existed. Tell me again of your oceans, Vila requested one evening as they lay entwined beneath firs, her head resting on his chest. Water that does not freeze, flowing endlessly. Ilias smiled, stroking the silky fur between her ears. Warm waters so clear you can see colorful fish darting below, beaches where the sand feels hot between your toes, sunsets that turn the whole horizon to fire. Fire water, she murmured dreamily, someday I will see. The peace was shattered the next morning by a sound Ilias had nearly forgotten, the distinct ping of a human emergency beacon being acknowledged. His damaged distress signal, buried in the crashed vessel, had finally reached the Interstellar Science Division. Rescue was coming. The revelation cast a shadow between them. Vila withdrew, spending hours alone at the sacred shrine at the heart of the clan's territory. When she returned, her golden eyes were troubled. Your people come to take you, she said, not a question but a statement. Yes, Ilias confirmed, his heart conflicted. They'll be here within days. Vila turned away, her voice low. Then you must prepare, the journey to stars is long. Come with me, the words burst from him before he could reconsider. Vila, my world would welcome you. Your knowledge, your healing skills, Earth has never encountered anyone like the Lunari. Her ears flicked back in surprise. Leave clan, leave Caraxes, she shook her head slowly. My place is here, I am shaman, last shaman. That night, as a meteor shower streaked across the sky, an omen of change, according to Lunari belief, they made love with desperate intensity, as if trying to memorize each other's bodies before separation. The rescue ship arrived 3 days later, landing on the ice plains near the clan's territory. The massive vessel dwarfed anything the Lunari had ever seen, causing many to retreat in fear. Only Torval, Vila, and a few senior hunters remained to witness Ilias' reunion with his kind. Commander Astrid Jensen, leader of the rescue mission, was visibly shocked when Ilias arrived dressed in Lunari furs, accompanied by the tall, wolf-like aliens. Even more shocking was his fluency in their language and the obvious intimacy between him and Vila. Commander Morgan, Jensen said carefully, eyeing the bone pendant he wore identical to the one around Vila's neck. Your situation is unexpected. My survival was unexpected, Ilias replied, only possible because of Vila and her people. He made his decision in that moment, turning to face Jensen fully. I'm staying. Jensen blinked, staying, but the mission, your position, can be filled by someone else, Ilias finished. I've found something here I never knew I was looking for. He took Vila's hand, her claws gently curling around his fingers. But I propose an exchange. The Lunari have survived in isolation for too long. They need medical supplies, technology to help them thrive again. And what do we get in return? Jensen asked. Knowledge, Vila spoke for the first time, her voice carrying despite the translator's electronic tones. Caraxes holds secrets, healing plants, crystal forests that sing, life that survives where none should. I will teach Sky people if they respect clan territories. The negotiations lasted well into the night. By dawn, an unprecedented agreement had been reached. Ilias would remain as human ambassador to the Lunari, while Vila would split her time between her duties as shaman and serving as Lunari representative to human researchers, who would establish a small, non-invasive research station near clan territory. As the rescue ship departed with promises to return with supplies and communication equipment, Elias watched it ascend into the lavender sky, Vila's warmth pressed against his side. "Afraid?" she asked softly. "Of staying, no." He turned to face her, cupping her furred cheek in his palm. "My heart made its choice when yours found me in the snow." Vila nuzzled against his hand, her golden eyes holding the reflection of twin moons. "Two rhythms," she murmured, "one song." Together, they walked back toward the clan village, where ice and fire had found unexpected harmony, where an impossible bond had redefined the meaning of survival. Behind them, their footprints in the snow, one human, one Lunari, told the beginning of a story that would echo across worlds.